This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen the Anthrax attacks in the shadow of 9/11, which is a subtitle that I don't really think is necessary. Directed by Dan Krauss, this new documentary follows, as the title says, the short wave of anthrax attacks by mail that occurred in the United States in the days and weeks after the September 11th attacks, and the much longer investigation into the identity of the culprit, initially believed to be a foreign terrorist, but soon found to have been a domestic source. The FBI investigation seems to be a wild goose chase with false leads and accusations over the next few years, but it isn't too long before a scientist who was entirely willing to assist becomes their primary suspect. That might be a bit of a spoiler, but it's telegraphed by the movie itself, honestly. After a pretty lengthy opening scene that summarizes the actual attacks and the initial reactions, the movie makes it clear that scenes with the eventual suspect are dramatized, whereas every other featured individual in interviews or archival footage has been the actual person. These reenactments are a bit mixed in their effectiveness, partially because of how blatant they are compared to the traditional documentary elements, and mostly because they hold fast to the concept of dramatization, in that whenever they occur, the tone becomes less true to life and more, well, like a drama. There are rarely any segues or meshes between the factual and fictional elements to help them blend together better, as if these scripted scenes were made more to fill in any gaps found within editing that interviews and archives couldn't cover. On the other hand, it does suggest that an actual scripted drama may have been a viable approach to tell the story in the first place. There's certainly enough in these scenes that would suggest that. Either way, the whole of the film is informative, balancing its coverage of the numerous people affected or involved in all of this, and being able to get across a full story through these interviews and focusing on the important elements that factor into the greater investigation without getting sidetracked by smaller anecdotes or the aforementioned scripted drama. The technical aspects of the film are pretty much on par with any other documentary I've seen around here, outside of the reenactments, of course. There's not much in the way of a creative style in the interview segments, being traditional talking headshots, and archival footage is usually edited together more to illustrate the sound bites than to tell a story on their own. The scripted scenes are, again, given a more creative flair, but even so, it's not all that unique. It's really more in line with a crime drama or a police procedural, with practical framing, simple cuts, and a general focus on performances rather than visuals. The film overall has a rather generic soundtrack for its genre, oftentimes cutting on loud stingers to try and build up a major revelation or for later foreshadowing. It seems as if the filmmakers wanted to make this movie for true crime fans and followers and figured that they would keep them comfortable with these sorts of familiar elements, while also giving them reenactments to shake up the usual formulas. It might work for some people, especially if they don't see it coming, but personally I think it could have used a bit more polish to really make it stick. The Anthrax Attacks, In the Shadow of 9/11. Dan Krauss, 2022. 2.5 stars. I wouldn't be against recommending it, but it's one of those recommendations that's not essential. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Seriously, the subtitle probably could have been left out and nobody would bat an eye. Or were there some other anthrax attacks in like the 90s and they needed to differentiate from those?